Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro, and I want to take a special moment to thank you for tuning into this very special, I said special twice already, edition of My Life with Kenny Rogers. But the best part about it is it's not my life with Kenny Rogers, but it's the life of our guest today, our very special guest, 3 times, Edgar. Edgar Struble, who was with Kenny in the big years, the arena years, and as he is quick to point out, it was also the years that the buildings weren't filled and the rooms were small, but persistence and a lot of late night cheap pizza and allowed them to eat the filet mignon and the lobster somewhere down the road. Edgar Struble, welcome to your life with Kenny Rogers.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So Edgar, well, I should tell people that this is going to be a series, and we've got several people coming on in really all aspects of Kenny's life, from managers to the bus drivers, the people who played in the band prior, the people who played in the band now. So if you want to get the whole story, what you do is down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little red button that says subscribe. So hit that subscribe button, and as we release them during the month, you'll be able to catch them all. And believe me, there are some great people, and probably not one better than the man who kind of was responsible for running the band, right, Edgar? You were kind of the band leader at that time, music director, whatever you want to call it. Edgar Struble.
I was the music director.
Welcome again.
Oop, you can't hear me, can you?
I do. I can hear you.
Sorry, I was talking over you.
No.
There's a distinction in our organization between band leader and music director. I was the music director, so I did not run the band. But when we had a situation that required me to conduct an orchestra or to organize musicians over and above what our normal band contingency was, complement was, sorry, I was the guy that was in charge of that. When we do television specials and we had to have extra music, I was the guy that did that. But the band leader for most of the time that I was with Kenny was Bobby Daniels.
Bobby, okay. Bobby's coming on with us, by the way.
Okay.
Bobby's coming on with us, and we're going to talk about those years as well when you guys were filling arenas. But prior to that, let's go way back to Michigan, because you know the funny thing is everybody thinks that everybody in country music came from Nashville. But Kenny didn't come from Nashville. You didn't come from Nashville. Tell us your humble beginnings and how you came across Kenny Rogers, or he came across you.
Yeah, I was from a little town in Michigan, Scottville, Michigan, population 1,250 people. And I had toured, after college, I toured with a rhythm and blues band. And then I was kicking around Mason County, Michigan, playing the bars, and I decided if I was going to do something on a national level, I probably ought to move to a place where music was being made on a national level. So I moved to Nashville. I'd been to New York. I didn't like it. I didn't have the courage to go to Los Angeles. And I knew somebody in Nashville I could stay with. So I went down there, was introduced to 3 guys that were playing in a Holiday Inn, Bobby,
Holiday Inn.
And I ended up sitting in with them for a whole month, January 1976. And then I went back to Michigan in February, March, something like that. And during that time, Kenny Rogers came through town, and he was just starting to record in Nashville. And he wanted to hire a Nashville-based group. And he'd heard this group at the Holiday Inn. I don't know what he was thinking, but they were playing OJs and spinners and all this rhythm and blues stuff. They were wonderful.
And that was you.
So we hired these guys, and the guys I'd been sitting in with, and a guitar player from another nightclub north of town. And when I came back in March, they were rehearsing with Kenny during the day and playing the nightclub gig at night. So I ended up sitting in with them for another month, and they introduced me to everybody that walked in the door. And I was able to get a gig on one of the Ramada Inns in north of town as a result of my association with Bobby, Steve, and Gene. And I also met Kenny during that time, but he took them out on the road as a group, 4 of them, Bobby, Steve, Gene, and T.G. Engel. who was
So
quite
Bobby Daniels, Steve
yeah,
Glassmeyer, and Gene Golden.
yeah, and T.G. Engel, guitar player. And then just when my gig at the Ramada Inn was coming to a close, and I was looking at, I had no idea what I was looking at. Bobby called and said that Kenny was ready to add another keyboard player, and would I be interested? And I said, sure. And he said, can you play clavinet and synthesizer? And I said, sure. And
But you,
I'd never seen a clavinet. I figured, what the heck? They have keys, right? So I did a crash course in clavinet and synthesizer, and in September of 1976, after a very short rehearsal, I had my first gig with Kenny Rogers. And there was some sort of an interview process too, where basically he didn't really even listen to me. He just talked to me and said, "I hear you can play a little guitar too." And I said, "Yeah, I'm more of a guitar owner than a guitar player, but yeah." And he said, "Well, I kind of want a guy who can do multiple things." And I said, "Well, I probably can help you out."
I can be that guy.
Yeah, and that was when we were flying the gigs, and we get off the plane. We all get in one Ford Country Squire station wagon. 3 of us in the front, 3 in the back, and they had 2 opposing seats in the very back. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Garth would be in there on one side, and the Ovation guitar would be on the other side.
This is even with Kenny. You were jamming into cars, or this was just prior to that?
This was with Kenny.
With
And
Kenny. See, a lot of people.
over the back seat and saying, "Boys, one of these days we'll be able to afford more than one rental car."
Wow. And that rental car turned into a DC-9.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And a Learjet and a helicopter all at the same time.
All at the same time. Wow. So you went from Holiday Inns and Ramadas to the life of luxury for a time there, right?
Well, it wasn't exactly a life of luxury when we started. The pay was minimal. It was consistent. The gigs were not that well attended. I can remember we opened for Ray Stevens in Virginia or West Virginia, and I bet you there was 45 people in the audience.
Ray Stevens.
I can remember playing the lounge at Harrah's in Tahoe, double billed with Dobie Gray, Drift Away guy.
Dobie.
Yeah, and lovely guy. And there would be a few people in the audience at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when we did our last set.
So you're doing what, 4 sets a night, 3 or 4 sets a night? Come on at 10.
So I don't really recall. It was so long ago, and there was a lot of brain cells down the drain.
Down the drain since then. So then, Kenny, talk about those early Golden Nugget times when Ken Cragen came up with the idea to have all the cab drivers in Las Vegas come to a midnight show for Kenny, and then it kind of changed his life because Cragen was smart enough to realize that cab drivers give more suggestions on what shows and restaurants to go in than those tour books.
Right. You know that story. He invited Ken Cragen, who was Kenny's manager, invited all the cab drivers to come to the Golden Nugget and watch the Kenny Rogers show for free. And of course, Kenny did a great show. It was undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
And they all started talking about it. And some would get in the cab and say, "Oh, what do you think we should do tonight?" And the cab driver would say, "You should go to Golden Nugget and see Kenny Rogers." And we had folks lined up, outside the door. I don't remember that place when we sat, about 200-300 people, but it was packed just about every night. And those were really great concerts. I can't remember. We might have done 2 shows a night there, and they were very, very well received. It really helped Kenny put his stage persona together, although we had plenty of experience with that. He was a wonderful, talkative, entertaining singer, not just a singer.
You bring that up, and somebody else has said the same thing. He really is an entertainer, and he just doesn't sing one song, say thank you very much, and wait for the downbeat for the next song. He actually tells stories that people enjoy hearing, even to the point where they were hearing them for 10 years in a row.
Or longer.
Or longer.
No, some of the jokes, would be after we get off the stage, we just shake our heads because he'd been telling them for 15 years.
Yep.
But they always worked, and the fans kept coming back. And if it worked, he was just so glib, and he was at his best actually when he was ad-libbing. He had a very quick wit, and he was self-effacing, and it was just marvelous to watch him.
Yeah.
Somebody twist off in the crowd, say, "Oh, play this." I can remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I can remember my first beer."
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go off script a little bit here, but you had said, those early years, and now with the work that you do with the award shows, you see tons of new talent come through every year. But when you look back, do you see anybody that really had the legs that Kenny had to get 55 years out of a career, at the top?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of country music stars that have that really enduring star quality. Kenny was good live. He was good on. He was great live. He was great on record. He was great on television. He was even a reasonably good actor.
In the movies.
He was great, but he was a reasonably good actor.
Hey, did you ever get in any of the movies in a background scene or anything like that?
I played a conductor in the last Kenny Gambler movie, number 5, and I actually scored that movie as well with Larry.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that was a ball. So anyway, I can't name names right off the top of my head. That I think Keith Urban will be around for a long time. He's very well spoken. He's got a good look. He comes up with wonderful music. I'm trying to think if there's a gal out there that would fall into. I can't think of her name right. Oh, Maren Morris, maybe.
Maren Morris. Okay.
Interesting gal.
Yeah.
Might have some legs.
Yeah. It seems as though country music chews them up and spits them out faster these last few years than ever before.
Academy of Country Music now for 18 years. I'm their music director, and I've seen them come and go. Young gal acts, they're here. They've got a #1 record, and they're on our stage for a year or two, and then we never see them again.
Never see them again. Well, what was it that kept Kenny grounded, if you will, despite the fact that he had all those airplanes at one time? But what kept him grounded so that he didn't go off onto those tangents that so many big stars do?
He was rooted in such humble beginnings that I think he never took his success for granted. I don't know why he didn't twist off like a lot of them do. He was never a druggie, or he never drank in front of us ever that I can remember. And we talked about it. He said, "I just don't like wine. I don't like that feeling I get." And the same with drugs. And he was a pretty normal guy for all the years that I was with him. I can't attribute that to anything else but an appreciation for where he was and where he is now. That's my guess anyway.
So segue, if you will, from the 200-seat lounges to the 20,000-seat Superdome.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it Lady, Lucille, Islands? What
started that? And that's so funny. I was in the studio the night Lucille was recorded. And it was the first time I was ever in a big Nashville studio. And I saw the lights and the machines going around. I thought, oh man, I'm in heaven. Then they started playing this demo, "But they have to find time to leave me." And I thought, this is the most stupid, demeaning country song. I can't believe you're cutting that. And about
Were you thinking that, or did you say it?
I did not say it, by the way. And about 6 months later, when my salary doubled, I thought Lucille was a pretty darn good song.
Wow. So going in and what was it like doing the arena shows?
Well, it was great. First, to continue that thought, Lucille really put him on the map, and then the Gambler, and there were some other things in between. But between those two songs, we became an arena act. And what it was was like doing any other show, except the noise level was a lot louder. The audience noise was a lot louder and more present. And Kenny was amazing in those situations. He could connect with the audience, no matter if there was 200 people or 20,000 people.
Even the people way up in the cheap seats.
People way up in the nosebleed seats. And
So,
this is before we had screens.
oh,
You know, you had to actually look through binoculars, some of them, to see him closely.
yeah, yeah. So you're on the floor of the arena in a pit, and you've got the either circular or rectangular or square stage around you.
Right.
Could you see the audience because all the lights were on you? Could you kind of get
the stage came up to about high chest level.
That's right.
Over I could see the first row of people, and I could certainly see up in the. Yeah, we sat on the floor, and the stage was elevated around us, and he walked in a circle around him. He had a microphone that had a little track that we set. And it worked really well. Then there are two things. He could cover more of the audience in a personal way, and he could pack more people into the auditorium.
Because you didn't have the back
stage,
closed up. So what's the deal with Kenny with the microphone cord always over the right shoulder? Because I was told he even had dead cords, even when he had a wireless mic, but he loved that cord over the right shoulder. Am I right?
That was his guitar, I think. A lot of people like to hide behind a guitar when they play. They need something. And that was kind of his deal. It made him feel comfortable or secure. I don't know. But it was a signature thing with him.
Yep. Always had that cord, and always you see it.
He was not uncomfortable just singing into a microphone when he do a television show that they wouldn't hand him a fake mic cord to sling over his shoulder. He was fine,
Yep.
But he was a creature of habit.
How about some opening acts that you worked with that turned out to be bigger names?
Well, goodness, Sawyer Brown. Sorry, I'm getting texts that are coming into my phone. You hearing those?
Oh, that's yours? Okay, yeah. I was looking, I thought it was mine.
Sawyer Brown, the Righteous Brothers, the Gatlin Brothers, the Oak Ridge Boys, Dottie West, Dolly, who was at one time an opening act and then became a co-act with him. Oh, goodness.
Had you already left by the time Garth Brooks showed up?
No. He did some Christmas shows with us in the very late 80s, 89 or so maybe.
Yeah,
when
89.
Just getting started. And he was amazing. So no, I met him early on. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of some of the other. Sheena Easton was with us. Bailey and the Boys.
That's right, Bailey and the Boys. Yeah, you remember them.
There was a girl from
Holly Dunn.
Yes.
Michelle Wright.
Yes, thank you. That's one I was trying to think of.
The Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely people, all of them.
Yep, lovely people. So what are you doing now, Edgar?
Well,
music, obviously.
Music director for the Academy Country Music Awards. Have been for the last 18 years, I think. I do also in the same role with the Billboard Music Awards. I also have been producing feature films, and I've done about 5 of those so far.
Okay.
The most visible one was in the last 3 years, was called God Bless the Broken Road. And it's a faith-based film. It's on Netflix right now. And then I have this little studio, and I write for Music Library. I do little piano pieces. I do whatever anybody needs, really.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, going back to the Kenny years, tell me your your most funnest gig that you can remember? As the guy with the weed whacker is right behind my window.
I can't hear him.
Okay, good.
I can't hear anything anyway. I'm half deaf.
I just remembered to close my backlight.
Yeah.
There we go. Now I can see myself.
Okay, great. The most fun gig, the most fun tour, I think, was the first time we went to Australia and New Zealand. It was just a magical time. There's no one gig that stands out. I do remember playing the Ohio State Fair, and there were 41,000 people in attendance that day watching Kenny Rogers. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is astounding. That wasn't necessarily fun. It was hot, sweaty, but it was kind of a milestone.
Yeah, like in September.
I remember the gigs in New Zealand and Australia, sorry, being particularly enjoyable. It was a magical time.
Did you ever get to go back to Michigan with Kenny?
Yes, and those were fun too, because all my homies we used to give them tickets to the show.
Yeah.
Half the audience would be from Scottville, Michigan.
Which means half the audience wasn't paying.
The place would go nuts, Yeah, we played Muskegon, Traverse City, Lansing, Michigan. Yeah.
Did you ever play the Silver Dome?
Yes, the world's largest indoor country music show in 1970 something or other at the Silver Dome with Dottie West, the Gatlin Brothers, Pink Carnation. Who was that? Marty Robbins.
Okay.
I can't remember if the Oak Ridge Boys was there, but it was amazing. And I don't think anybody got paid. I think the promoter lost his butt on it.
Is that right? It didn't fill the building, or they billed it as, but it just, for whatever, nobody got paid.
There were a couple times after that, it's Kenny Rogers. I can't remember who our opening act was.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's cool. So the biggest lesson you learned from the Kenny years, what is it that you took with you from there that has led to the success, the enormous success that you've achieved after your time with Kenny?
Well, there's a couple lessons in a couple different areas. One, the lesson I learned with regard to my career path was how to be a music director for television, for network television. And there's not a lot of people that understand how to do that, what's required. And I learned that around the Kenny Campfire.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I was the music director for Kenny Rogers. And when we do a television special, I had to make sure all the union contracts were straight with the band members and the after contracts. I had to make sure if we had supplemental musicians, that they knew they were rehearsed and when to show up. And if there was additional music that had to be written to help augment that show, that was generally my responsibility. I learned a lot of how to do that. I learned that around I call it the Kenny Campfire, but it's just being in that Kenny Rogers organization.
The only reason I asked that is because there was always that time prior to the show that everybody would huddle in the music room and either rehearse a segment of a song or, talk about that particular show, and then just go out and do it.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of touring with him. And towards the end of my tenure with Kenny, I left in 91. I was there for 15 years, in 76 and 91. We'd have a rehearsal hall set up in the dressing room every night.
Every night.
It was minimal.
Yeah.
Keyboards there and acoustic guitars and some drum pads and stuff. And we didn't make a lot of noise. But if Kenny wanted to change something before we went on stage, we could do it in a heartbeat. And he did that. I can remember the last couple of years he was touring, he still had that set up in his dressing room. It was a smart thing to do.
Yeah. But you've stayed close. You're still friends. And I mean, you were still friends, and he'd see you when you would come out to other parts of the country. And
actually, I became better friends with him when I stopped working for him and started working with him. I was music director on a couple of shows that he was a guest a host or a guest star on, and we got on famously. I had a very good relationship with him after I had a decent relationship with him while I was an employee, and obviously I didn't get fired. I was there for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I quit under really good terms. Actually, he used me as music director for a couple shows after my time in his band. So we had a great relationship there. And I saw him every time he'd come to Michigan, if I was there, I would go see him. I'd bring my daughter or daughters, and we just have a grand time catching up and laughing. And of course, I'm still great friends with all the guys in the band, even the new guys. I know them all.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say to a young aspiring person who wants to get into country music today? How has it changed from when you cut your teeth? What is it now? 20, 45 years ago?
Yeah. Well, right now you don't need a record label to be successful, although it still doesn't hurt. The other thing that's changed is instead of just being a singer and an entertainer, you have to have some social media savvy or hire somebody that does. And while you're coming up, it means you have to have some social media savvy. You have to know how to work Instagram and Facebook. Yep. And all other stuff that I know very little about right now. Beyond that, nothing much changed. Practice, hone your skills, and try to be something more than just a singer.
Entertainer.
Yeah, try to connect with your audience.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to throw one name out at you because I know it's going to. Go ahead.
Well, I say the entertainer has a kind of a chintzy connotation to me. I think a more appropriate term is someone who can really connect with an audience. And that indeed is entertaining, but there's more to it. There's a heart component to it also. People loved Kenny Rogers, and they didn't feel that he was being phony, even though he told the same jokes over and over.
But the same people weren't at the same show, so you could use the same show 2 nights, 20 years in a row.
Yeah. But he really had a heart connection with his audience.
Yeah, you could see it. You could see it from the backstage wings, watching the people watch him. Yeah. In fact, he even jokes about putting those lights up so that, as he says, so I can watch you watch me.
Yeah. Yes.
In the first few rows. One guy that wasn't part of the band, but was certainly part of the success of the entire Kenny Rogers phenomenon is Ken Cragen.
Yes.
What can you say about Ken Cragen?
Well, Ken Cragen was a management genius. Between him and Kenny, both of whom were very astute business people and astute marketers, they managed to put together a team that was unstoppable. And Ken Cragen had a philosophy of doing 3 things in a row. So he'd do the cab driver thing, and then he'd do some other promotion all at the same time. And that seemed to work real well for him. I can't name those 3 things off the top of my head. But he had a definite philosophy of management and how to make a bang, how to get people's attention. I do remember when he used to do lectures, he'd go out on a lecture circuit and talk about how to be successful. And one of the first things he would say is, in order to have some success, you have to get people's attention. And when he would do that, the doors of the auditorium would swing open and the UCLA marching band
would come through.
Storming through,
That's right. Yep. Yep.
He used to do, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
In the middle of his speech he would say, "Now, everybody, I have a little surprise for you. Reach underneath your seat. There's an envelope taped underneath your seat." And sure enough, there was. And they'd reach under there and they'd open that envelope up and there was a lottery ticket in it. And he'd say, "Now everybody scratch that ticket off. How many dollar winners do we have?" And there's a few hands that go up. How many $5 winner? There's a couple hands that go up. $10, any $100 winners maybe. how about $1,000 or $10,000? And, you know, the auditorium would grow strangely quiet. He said, that's the point I'm trying to make. You ain't going to win the lottery. Get to work.
Oh,
Ooh.
very interesting story. That's a lesson in that. And so during Kenny's final months, everybody, you know, there was all these stars in the tabloids about this, you know, for the last couple of years. Do you recall where you were when you got the word that Kenny had moved on?
I was in the studio. What was the date of his death?
It's like in March 20th, maybe 2020.
Yes, I was home. I was home in bed. It was at night when I got. I do remember that night.
Yeah, I think it was a Friday night. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Chuck texted me, and I saw it in the morning.
Yeah, I saw something in, I think, a Facebook post from Kenny's brother Randy.
Something like that. So anyway, so we want to thank you so much for being with us. I know that you've got can you move your camera around there, because you've got a studio, and you carved out some time today because you got sessions in this morning and this afternoon. You are in LA, so you still got a lot more to do with your day, but
yeah, that's my little workstation behind me there.
Music is really your life. It's not really a job for you, is it?
No, it's my life. Yeah. And there's a couple of guitars that I own.
Oh, on the wall?
Yeah, but now I'm a guitar owner, not a guitar player. Let's remember that.
Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. Oh, and you got some, who's those gold records for?
That's so interesting. That's a great question. There's also a Steinway grand piano right over my shoulder, which is my
Okay. Yeah.
Let me get this light back. That gold record is for a tour that we did. It was given to us as a Christmas present by Kenny Rogers. And that's so interesting because I played on a lot of gold records that Kenny did in the studio, and I never got a gold record for being on those recording sessions. And this is for some tour that we did where they didn't even issue a gold record for it. It's just more of a souvenir thing.
So has it got the record, the CD, and the cassette in it?
There's not even a CD in it.
Not
So,
even a CD. Hey, it's a gold record. It's a gold record. So, as I started saying 5 minutes ago, thank you so much, Edgar Struble, for being with us. And folks, we want to remind you that this is one of many sessions that we'll be doing, talking about these guys' lives with Kenny Rogers. And just subscribe to this channel, hit the button down the bottom right, and you'll be notified when the next ones come out. Edgar, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get to see you sometime soon.
Thanks, John. Pleasure.
Have a great day, everybody.